Hey everyone, it's Richard Metal Fan here, bringing you guys an old school album review. I'm going to be talking about this album's, well, it came out 15 years ago this year, but the anniversary isn't until July. But I figured since this band's new album is coming out next month, exactly a month, I figured I'd cover all their other albums I haven't reviewed. So, as you can see by the title today, I'm going to be looking into Miasma by the Black Dahlia Murder, the band's second album released in July of 2005 through Metal Blade Records. Now, this is the follow-up to their 2003 debut album, Unhallowed, which I thought was a pretty solid album. But with this album compared to Unhallowed, I feel like the band kind of stepped it up a little bit, and the band had a little bit of a lineup change. And on this album, they had Zach Gibson, I believe, their other drummer, and David Locke, who played bass, I believe. I mean, if I get them mixed up, forgive me. Man, I feel like this album, I feel compared to like their next album, Nocturnal, which in my opinion is probably my favorite album of theirs, I feel like it's sort of like a slow start. It's a bit of an improvement from Unhallowed, but in terms of like the musicianship and just like the song arrangements. But I feel like some of the songs kind of sound a little bit similar. But yeah, let's just dive into this album track by track. Now, the album starts off with a very short intro track called Built for Sin. It was only like a minute and a half long. It starts off kind of weird, but then the instruments kick in. My little complaint is I feel like it should have just started with, like, this should have been combined with the next song being I'm Charming. It should have just been one thing. I feel like that little intro is a little bit unnecessary. Maybe it should have been just combined with I'm Charming, but let's start with I'm Charming. And I feel like this pretty much starts off with a bang and will probably cause the listeners to swirl their hair in sort of like a windmill fashion, which is typical for metal. Well, and the vocals are a mix of like sort of like the higher shrieks and lower growls, both of which are easily tolerated. And the drums sort of like pummel the listener thoroughly, keeping the double bass at a constant high speed and bringing some the parts out in the spur of like blast beats. And pretty much their drummer uses the whole kit and varies sort of like his beat up decently. And the guitar solo adds also a major melodic touch to the song as it stays fairly moderate in speed, provides sort of like the tremolo pick sections, which closes the song, which is so far so good. And then we go into Flies, which gets off to a fairly promising start, and the vocals have some of the same patterns but are still enjoyable. And this time the guitarists take a different approach to their riffs pattern-wise. I mean, the drums hold their own, keeping the quality up with some speedy blasts and rolls, and the solos, I believe, is kind of like where the puzzlement begins. It kind of like sounds near identical to I'm Charming in both style and sound, and many acts like it's a rehash riffs, but as the first two songs will show, Black Dahlia has that kind of like feel like with the solos on here. But yeah, then moving on to Statutory Ape, and things are powerful, heavy, and intense, yet as it shows a few diverse sounds from what can already be heard, and just even some of the riffs sound a bit similar. And I just pretty much love like the strumming on this song. It's just fucking amazing, superb, and it just makes you want to just go into the pit and just circle pit all around. But I feel like it's pretty much one of Black Dahlia's most well-known songs, and I love this song. Moving on to A Vulgar Picture, here, which the opening intro is just so immense that it grabs your attention right away, and the drum fill right after the intro riff is guaranteed to make your ears perk up as the tom rolls and shifts are performed at a mind-bending speed. And here the vocals sound really good, and their transitions from like sort of like the higher shrieks to the growls, and the solo is a bit similar but is much shorter in length and straight to the point compared to like the previous songs. And there's a bit of like sweeping, which makes it stand out from the song. And a new element also takes credit for making this track stand out. The breakdown, while not exactly a full-blown one, this is indeed the closest Black Dahlia has come to perform a breakdown, and it actually fits the song quite well, and it does. So it precisely played the outro riff. Anyway, moving on to Novelty Crosses, which I think is a pretty good song. It just makes you want to just bang your head all over the song. Anyway, next song on the album is called Dave Goes to Hollywood, and once more it's a tad bit repetitive, but the quality and some of the slightly new traits helps it pull as a standout. And the quick drum fill intro also contributes by sucking the listeners in immediately. And at this point, the record, the vocal patterns are becoming incredibly good, but the quality is still present. But just as they're getting so predictable in shifts, the guitar does manage to pull its way and sort of like take a very heavy yet melodic approach to certain riffs, and using the group focus solely on brutality or melody guitar wise is so mixing the two in one riff is really great. Hey, I don't know, that's just a great song. Anyway, moving on to Miscarriage, pretty good song, kind of like similar a little bit to to kind of like Novelty Crosses. I don't know, it's just me. Spite Suicide. Now this song starts off with a great drum intro. One of the best, I believe, that the drummer Zach does on this on here. Yeah, and I just think that's pretty much one of his standouts. I don't know, I just like that drum intro and just the riffing, and it's pretty great. And then we go into the last song on the album, being the title track of the album, Miasma, which is also the most melodic and atmospheric. And the tremolo pick riff is played while another guitar plays sort of like chord sats or like melody. A nice effect when adding to the blasting here. And I just think the riffing and the vocal delivery is just very top notch. And there's a 2-beat stop before a fairly sounding climax begins, which it managed to give me goosebumps. And I feel like it's just really done nicely well. And overall, Miasma by Black Dahlia Murder is a bit of an improvement from Unhallowed. So if I did this album a score, I'm probably going to give this a solid 8.5 out of 10. It's pretty good. It's a bit of an improvement from Unhallowed. So yeah, that's my review of this album, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it, and I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, keep it metal.